All the way from Rhode Island, California, and North Carolina, welcome to the UltraCast. It's a podcast dedicated to the Leftovers on HBO. We're still here, and so are you, so let's talk about Season 2.
Suddenly I'm hit. Is this darkness of the dawn? And your friends are gone. And your friends won't come. So show me where you fit. So show me where you fit.
Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Mary Larson.
My name's Blake.
And joining us today are the Guilty Remnant podcast. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hello.
I'm Dylan Schuck.
I'm Tiffany Tomaszewski.
And also the guys from the Leftovers with Jay and Jack.
My name is Jay.
And I'm Jackism.
Nice.
That worked out so much better than I thought it would.
Well,
luckily, I had nothing planned, so that worked out pretty good.
Well done. Well done.
It worked on multiple levels. And for those of you who don't see our Google document that we're all sharing, the Jackism is right after "and I'm." So yeah, that worked out really well. Thank you for that.
I try to help out when I can.
So we are all joined here because we need to talk about this epic season 2 of our favorite show, The Leftovers on HBO. So we joined up our 3 podcasts. Lots of voices, lots of people. I hope that you as listeners can handle this because your minds are about to be blown, or you're just going to laugh at us because probably theories like mine might go out the window. But anyway, I want to just jump on in, guys. What are your thoughts overall, your lasting impressions about season 2 on the whole?
I can go first on that. I think Blake and I talked about this. I think that it was hard for people to really get into or get other people into the first season. I think that we as a Leftovers community all really liked the first season, but I wasn't going around shouting it to the skies or telling everybody they had to watch it because I wasn't sure that everybody would like the show. And I think after the second season, you see that everybody is telling everybody to watch it finally, which wasn't happening in the first season. I think it's because everybody is confident that most people, if you have a brain and you have eyes and ears, that you will like this show.
Yeah, agreed. Just following up on what Dylan said, and I know that we've talked about this on our podcast, but I think this season was much more of a story with a through line that people could get on board with versus just a documentation of grief, which a lot of people found kind of troubling and more of a task to watch than actually like, ooh, I can't wait to go sit down and watch The Leftovers. So yeah, I mean, I loved both seasons, but I definitely really enjoyed this season a lot, and I enjoyed talking to people about it, and just, we love to analyze and overanalyze everything, and all the red herrings or things that turned out to not be red herrings were just super, super fun in this. And this season almost kind of felt like almost like a mini movie in some episodes, and like each episode was sort of a microcosm. So it was just really, really cool. And I like that they switched it up a bit.
Well, I know we've talked about, on like all of our shows, like we're Lindelof fans. And I think this was like Lindelof, coming back into his prime, doing what he does best. And, whereas, he was following a source material in season 1, this season seemed to just let him have free reins with these characters and the backstories that we had in season 1, and the result was just arguably some of his best work that he's ever done, as well as everybody else that's involved with the show. But it was just absolutely just a thrill to watch. All of the things that I think we've loved. I think we're all Lost fans here. But all those things that we loved in the show Lost, were just kind of perfect here. But I think what was better is that we had proper expectations for what this show is. And nobody had these ideas that all these mysteries were going to be explained. We just knew that we're here for the characters. We're here for this story, and to see where the conclusion is. So you take away all of the kind of noise that maybe clouded and ruined Lost for some people, and you just had a really wonderful season of TV that had a perfect landing as far as the finale goes. So just all around an absolutely fantastic season of TV.
I think Lindelof said that he was really depressed while writing the first season too.
And you can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
It
second
shows.
season took a turn from that, so.
Well, a lot of people were depressed watching it. Seriously, I know people that said they were depressed watching. They couldn't get into it because they were just every episode left them depressed.
Yeah, I heard that a lot, actually. So.
And that almost might be, I think, the one thing that still detracts from this show is, people have to go back and still watch season 1 if they want the full story, and it'll still be a depressing thing. But it's like,
taxing.
don't worry. You'll wait 10 episodes, you will hate yourself, and you'll cry yourself to sleep every night. But God, that season 2 is amazing. It's worth it.
One of the things that I found too was that, like, yes, season 1 was slightly depressing, and I won't deny that. But at least season 2, it kind of made up for it in that, Lindelof went off and did like movies for a little bit, and he's finally in the medium that I think he needs to be in. I'm not sure if movies. I've always maintained this. I'm not sure if movies fit him well, just because he's such a long form storyteller. He wants. I feel like he wants to be able to develop those characters, and even though I did enjoy Prometheus, I did enjoy Star Trek Into Darkness, and yes, I even enjoyed Tomorrowland. Maybe because I'm a Lindelof sycophant. I'm fine. I will admit that. But
I love Prometheus. I don't see why everybody doesn't love that movie. But
I agree.
I think the main problem with Prometheus is I think everybody just wanted, like, this is the alien universe. This is like, it had almost a bit of a prequel problem with it, where maybe there's just expectations on the whole alien thing when it really was a movie that could kind of stand on its own outside of the alien universe, I think.
And Jack, what are your final thoughts for season 2?
Like everyone said, season 1 was good. It was a little depressing, but season 2
finished strong.
It finished strong, but season 2 was great from the start. Right when we have the cave woman and her baby, and she's getting bit by the snake, and the whole story. And then you're watching it, going, I'm sure everybody had the same feeling. What are we watching? What's going on?
Yeah.
We didn't know. The previews we saw all season, they're standing outside this town into the car. The cars are backed up, and they're waiting to get into this town. And you're like, what are they doing with this show? I don't know if I'm going to like it. Well, loved it. And I think most people I've talked to for season 2 love The Leftovers. I mean, I tell people they don't have to go back and watch season 1 if they don't want to.
What?
I think you can watch season 2 and get enough out of it to just figure out what's going on. Well, it's hard to figure out what's going on anyway, but.
Yeah.
Where would you place this? Like, I'm always said that, Bloodline was just one short moment, one moment short of a perfect first season. But I really feel like the season 2 of The Leftovers really like eclipsed Bloodline in a lot of ways. So for me, I would say this is probably like at least top 7 seasons of television I've ever seen. I mean, would you guys agree with that?
Yep.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even have to think of.
Well, there wasn't a bad episode. Yeah, so.
7, yeah.
Well, yeah, there just wasn't a bad, like, every episode was just on point. And the beauty, I think, of the season is that the resolution to everything was, like, so satisfying in a season where, like, so much stuff was thrown at us. Like, a completely new family was brought in, a completely new town was thrown in. Like, so much new stuff and concepts added to the mythology, and, like, everything had a really satisfying resolution. Like, in 10 episodes or less, like, it's like, that's not easy. And that's, I think, what puts it up there. If we're saying top 7 or top 5, it definitely deserves to be in that space.
And then the funny thing is too, is that they even, out of one of those 10 episodes was just devoted to a purgatory/hotel scene. So essentially they had 9 episodes to tell that entire season worth of story. And they pulled it off. Granted, they had the 75-minute episode as the finale, which they needed. But, But think of that. In 9 episodes, they told that whole story.
I must say also,
incredible.
season 2 didn't have Christine in it. And it didn't have an episode of Kevin tracking down a baby Jesus missing from a nativity scene. So I think it was obviously an advantage over the first season.
I'm not playing devil's advocate because I think season 2 blew season 1 out of the water. But one thing about season 1 that I actually enjoyed was discussing grief and death.
Yeah,
and that's one thing in this season, it's become more of a mystery. And, we almost didn't care anymore about what happened at the departure. We cared where the hell is Evie and what is Meg up to. Whereas in the first season, I couldn't help but ask every single episode, like, what the hell is the departure? Seriously, was it aliens? Was it God? Where did they go? I don't understand. But aside from that, I also had lengthy discussions with Blake or with other people that might watch the show about sad topics. And I don't really do that. I'm like if you guys can't tell, I'm like a very happy person. As I said, I just was at a cookie swap and I made some dynamite cookies, guys. I'm going to post some pictures. I'm really proud of them.
Sunshine and unicorns over here.
If Buddy the Elf was a female, it would be me. I'm just like a very happy person.
Santa. I know him.
I do. My dad dresses like Santa. It was a really interesting show for me to have that. Whereas this season, it was a lot more questions like, oh, what do you think that meant? And do you think Patty's real or is Patty not real? Whereas I didn't get to talk about, what do you really think happened? Like, how will I handle you dying, Blake? How will I handle if my mom just passed away tomorrow? So they were very, very different conversation topics, both of which were awesome and kept me up at night discussing. But I thought that there was a lot of cool things that happened in season 1. So, all right, guys.
One thing I have to say is I think that they said that they were never going to answer what happened in the departure. So I think it's good that our minds are off that, because I think a lot of people in the first season were saying, oh, it's the makers of Lost, they're never going to answer anything, they're never going to answer what the departure is. But they said from the beginning that's not the point, and I think it's good that we're that we're not dwelling on that. I don't think that viewers are dwelling on it like I was afraid they were in the first season.
Oh my God, yeah, we're over it.
I think the story demands, or at least it gives the option to not answer it. It's not important to the story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's there. It's kind of like, I made this case earlier. It's like The Walking Dead. There are zombies but who really cares how they became zombies? It's just that they're there to move the story along. And the same thing for the departure. I mean, it's there. It did happen. It set in motion these events, but it's not coming back to that. It's not like Flash Forward where they're constantly saying, who the hell did this and why is this here? And they don't have characters that are...
It's Dominic Monaghan. It's all him.
I'm loaded, okay?
I've never once heard somebody say, The Walking Dead sucks. They're never going to answer how the zombie apocalypse happened. Like, never
well, I think
heard something.
that just shows, like, how good of a job they did in setting the expectations that, like, this is not going to be answered and you have to be okay with that. And if you're not, then don't watch this show. Because that's just not what it's about.
Some questions
I think,
unanswered in life.
Yeah, I think Damon. I think Damon learned the mistakes from Lost, where even through their podcast and all the things that he did, it's like, oh, we're going to answer this, and it's throughout the whole thing, and then eventually I think they realized, wait a second, actually that's not the point of this show. But at that point, it was too late. And, and I think they've learned from their mistakes with that. I think if you even go to J.J. Abrams and the mistakes with the second Star Trek movie and the con and how they handled that and how he's handling Star Wars now with making sure that nothing gets out that he doesn't want to get out, or even just not even discussing it, to make sure that the expectations for that movie are hopefully properly placed. So I think you're absolutely right in bringing up that the expectations I think were perfectly set in this show. And maybe we already have that, like, they're not going to answer it, so don't even worry about it. But that isn't the point at all. And what Damon does best is character development. So let him do his thing.
All right. So, of course, we have tons of questions, but our listeners all have lots of questions that they'd like us to attempt to answer. So let's jump into our listener feedback. We received an email from Susan Smith, and she thinks the guilty remnant were stealing people's dogs and abandoning them. Meg was called on doing something with dogs, if you recall, and then we saw an awful scene with a woman dropping off a dog at a park where Tommy was sleeping. It's an act of terrorism, not violence, like the bus, and saying there's explosives on the camper. So what are your thoughts? We're going to start with the guilty remnant.
Tiffany, you go first.
Howard. Why, thank you, Dylan. Yes. I mean, that's an interesting thought. I feel like we have seen the dogs in different aspects of the show throughout, but never really had full answers. As we've discussed, we're probably not going to get full answers, but that's an interesting thought that never came to mind that I could kind of see happening. I don't really know what the point of it would be, but I guess a lot of the things that the guilty remnant do, there's not a huge point other than just kind of to shock people and wake people up. Going
back to the last megacast, I know I talked about this, but I re-listened to it. We talked so much about the dogs in that. Like, it's funny that we had gone away so much from the dog conversation, and now the dog conversation is like going through these emails. Like, pretty much a third of them bring up dogs, so that's really funny. But I think that I think I remember seeing a picture or somebody tweeted us that the person was wearing white that dropped off the dog. So that would make sense. I also remember there was a parallels between Tom feeling like an abandoned dog that we saw in there. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think and Jack's been really obsessed with the dogs this season. I'm
obsessed with the dogs. There's little things on the show that I obsess with, and I can't figure out the dogs. Like when they were quarantined, why do you have to quarantine the dogs for 60 days? Mm-hmm. I don't get that. It's a dog. I mean, it just didn't
it's
make.
It's not Australia, right? I mean, Johnny
exactly.
Depp.
Johnny Depp. I get. If Johnny Depp's bringing his dog, you have to quarantine it. But I just didn't get the whole thing with the dogs. I said, "There's got to be something more with the dogs." And Jay would go, "No, nothing."
Well, this is my thought.
Say it like that too.
Now, just move on. But I think for just. It's just that companionship piece that I think dogs represent for a lot of people. It's that whole man's best friend thing, and I think one of the first things that man did was domesticate animals, and domesticating dogs was a big evolutionary step for mankind. So if you want to represent the kind of human civilization dissolving or breaking down, a great way to visualize that or represent that is kind of the breakdown of that relationship of humans and dogs. And I think it's either just a visual cue to represent that, and I think maybe Meg's playing into that as well. If you are separating that relationship, it kind of makes you more numb or makes you more removed from the steps that we have made as a civilization. So I think it's a really good visual cue for people to feel that kind of dissonance in society.
I think John just hated dogs. I think that's what it was.
So he just let them all out.
He just let them all out. He wouldn't let dogs into the town.
Who let the dogs out?
Actually, Jay, that actually might be the most salient thought I've heard about the dogs so far. That it's representation of, of humanity's kind of step forward, go in its evolution, and it's a good visual cue. I really like that. That makes the most sense out of anything I've ever heard. Like, I heard
anything you've ever heard.
Ever. You're just the smartest person I've ever met.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It's a theory of relativity, and then you. So no, but that makes sense in terms of the dogs, because I remember saying, really stupidly last season, being like, oh yeah, it's the departed souls that are there, and the souls are living in the dogs. And now that I think about it like that, it just sounds so freaking stupid.
No, it's not stupid. No. Listen, Jack has made a career out of that kind of stuff, so you never feel that's a good theory. It is.
And sticking with the dog idea, Jay and Jack, I want to ask you guys, why do you think Kevin's dog ran from Jordan? This question came from Lisa
Nadinger.
I can't read that word.
I think it's Nadinger.
Nadinger.
Okay.
Nadinger.
I think it's Nadinger also. What do you think, Tiffany?
Should we take a vote?
I think everyone can read names but me.
Well, I know a lot of Ingers. I know a lot of Ingers in my life, and it's always Inger. So I'm going to say Nadinger.
There you go. So why did Kevin's dog run from Jordan?
Everyone
Jack,
runs
why don't you
Kevin.
answer? That's fine.
No one wants to be around Kevin, even the dog. The dog just took off. This guy's crazy. I'm out of here.
Problem solved.
Again, I think it's probably a good way to kind of tell Kevin, hey, I waited for you. I made sure you're okay. But you know what? What's going on over there in that town right now? I don't want any part of. I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I felt the same thing. I felt like the dog had sensed that there was a change in Kevin. After he woke up and saw what was going on out there, he's like, no, dude, F that, bro. I'm not going out
I love
there.
you, bro, but
yeah, not that much. And I'll see you later. And I'm really surprised at how many people were obsessed with this whole dog thing. Like, I remember half the questions we got on our show was, well, who let the dogs out? Well, who opened the cages? Why didn't they kill Kevin? Why did they leave him there? Why didn't they let the dog out of Kevin's cage? It was like, wow, man, I'm really surprised at this. I thought people would be asking far different questions.
I can't believe how many Who Let the Dogs Out Baja Man references we've gotten so far.
We might hit the record for most in a podcast.
I think we already have.
The fact that we're actually talking about the Baja Men would make it seem like that we set the record.
Actually, I think the members of the Baja Men, whenever they are mentioned, they're alerted. So I feel like they're listening to this.
So
They just made 29 cents.
They get 3 alerts a year.
Wait, it's not 1999. They're talking about us again.
We're relevant. Thank you.
I can't find it, but there was another person. There was another email where somebody referenced examples as to why they think that Kevin's dog is the reincarnation of his departed baby, and gave good reasons. Now I'm just going through the notes, and I haven't. I can't find that, but I guess maybe I'll come back to that. I'll go look through my email.
Man, that's some intense stuff
deep.
right there.
Yeah, real deep.
Heavy.
That's
Well, let's move on to the next thing, and I'll see.
Yes. So Kay Renita emailed that we know after Kevin went through the hotel otherworld, whether it's purgatory or the other world, whatever, when he was in that hotel land, after he came back, he remembered seeing the girls at the lake before he jumped in. Do you think this means he actually remembers other things he had previously done while sleepwalking? For example, kidnapping Patty. If so, that could lead to a bunch of interesting reveals. Blake, what do you think about this?
I don't know if that really means that, but I love this whole idea. If he does remember things, and maybe perhaps in season 3 we'll be privy to those things, because I've always wanted to know. It always seems like Kevin is a different person when he's sleepwalking. It seems like he's doing different stuff. And stuff that is outside of what he normally would do. And obviously killing himself is one of them, or, getting dogs or getting Patty and tying her up, spoiler alert, in the final episode of last season, or the second to last episode. It just seems like he is a more badass dude who's just willing to get stuff done. So in order to see that stuff, if that means he can remember that, oh my God, that would be freaking awesome. I'd love to see how he tied up Patty. And that might be a good organic way to bring her back. I don't know. What do you think?
All right. So I'm just going to jump on a limb and say that I'm probably the only person on this 6-person call that actually sleepwalks. Is that true?
Oh, wow.
No, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I have sleptwalk. I don't do it regularly, but people I've done it like twice, as far as I know. Usually alcohol's involved, but
Mine are sadly done sober, and I haven't done it that frequently. So I wish I knew what was going on. Blake found me in the closet once talking about chickens.
Wow.
That is the truth.
That's not that bad of sleepwalking. I think that's very harmless sleepwalking. You go to the closet and talk about chickens.
Yeah.
We've been watching The Man in the High Castle lately too.
Uh-oh.
And she woke up in the middle of the night
No.
and stood up and was like, I don't know which side to pick. And I was like, what are you talking about? She goes, the Germans or the Japanese, I don't know. And then she looked at me and she's like, I'm confused. And then she just went back to bed straight, eyes closed.
Oh, man. So, needless to say, I don't actually remember anything when I sleepwalk or sleep talk, and it is very hereditary. So, I'm just pumped because I'm going off on like a different tangent a little bit from what Kay Renita said, but I'm excited to see if anything happens to Jill. I've said this before, but if Kevin's dad had this and Kevin has it, I think Jill might be able to do something a little bit with the sleepwalking. But do I think that he's going to remember some more stuff? You bet. You bet he's going to. I don't. I sure as shit don't remember what I do when I sleep talk or sleepwalk. I wish I did. It would be about chickens and Nazis. So, what do you guys think?
That should be the title of this.
Sleepwalking.
That should be the title of this episode: Chicken and Nazis.
No.
I agree with what you were saying, Mary, in that I think that I think he's going to remember more things, and the fact that we haven't seen him either admitting or showing that he's remembering other things, I don't think that's happened yet, because I feel like the show has done a really good job of just blatantly showing how honest Kevin is, and he kind of just says what's going on with him. So yeah, I don't think that that's happened yet, but I think I totally agree that he is going to slowly start remembering different things and piecing things together.
Anyone else have a
Yeah,
question?
I agree. I think he's going to remember. He also seemed clear. You know, he had a gunshot wound to the gut, but he seemed clearer and more focused, and he was at peace with himself. So I think he will. I think he does remember what happened.
Yeah, and I think they'll play Celine Dion's "It's All Coming Back to Me Now" as he starts remembering it all.
All right, our next email came from Paul. He said, I wanted to get my thoughts on the scene involving the lady with the snake tattoo who takes Lily from Nora. Not only did she have a snake tattoo, she had a serious nose chain. I just want to point that out, by the way. I recognize that nose chain.
The nose chain was on point. It was very
right?
good.
Very, very good. In an interview prior to the finale, Lindelof was asked about the prologue to season 2 with the cave woman. And he basically said that there would be a scene in the finale that would be somewhat of a payoff to that. I believe this scene is when Lily is taken from Nora. If you recall the prologue, the woman leaves the baby unattended and then later finds it surrounded by a snake. It is at this moment that she attempts to save the baby and is bitten. Now, while Nora didn't get bit, thank God, she does sacrifice herself in order to save Lily from danger. So we wanted to just kind of, jam on this a little bit. So anyone from the Guilty Remnant podcast, Dylan or Tiffany, do you guys want to talk about this?
This one blew my mind. The guy had emailed us after the finale, and I was like, damn you, why didn't you say this before we did that episode? Because this would have been really perfect. Because, I was sitting there being like, hey, that whole baby getting taken thing reminded me of the baby getting taken in the first season, the baby Jesus. And Tiffany's like, no, I don't think so. And I'm like, okay, let's move on. I didn't know what to really interpret from this, but I think this is absolutely perfect. I think this is spot on, especially with the snake tattoo and a big old nose chain, or however you worded it. I think that's poignant.
Yeah, I love that Paul picked up on this, and I love that this was such a subtle thing to connect to the first episode of this season. Like, I like that they weren't hitting you over the head with the connection there, and it was just, I think we were all trying to figure out, like, what is the deal with this woman? How does she know what's going on? And just, we still don't really know how she knows, but I love this very subtle little tie-in. I thought that was very well done.
Jerry Jack, what do you guys think about that?
I think that I just love how there's just little bits and pieces that went back to that throughout the whole season that I thought were fantastic. Like if International Assassin, where young Patty's kind of reading basically about like the history of that and how it relates to that town, I thought was awesome. And then, the person taking the baby and then her getting her back, but also Kevin kind of being separated from his family, and the inverse of that happened where, after the quake, he was reunited with all of his family that was there versus, the cave woman that was separated and was out on her own. It was a nice, really, like, a perfect bookend to both seasons. And I know Damon's big on that in terms of this kind of, arcing book strategy. He always referenced Harry Potter and how basically it's like a mirror if you look at the Harry Potter books, and it kind of descends from the middle out to the ends. And this season was perfect in that at the beginning of it, Earthquake separated from her family, and at the end, Earthquake happened, and then he was reunited with his family. So it was this weird, crazy thing at the beginning that was like, where the heck are we going with this? But in the end, like, there was a lot of, I think, satisfying things, and I think the weird nose ring lady was a perfect representation of what happened to the cave woman, to Nora. But there's just so many visual things that I thought harkened back to that opening scene that were really satisfying for me as a viewer.
Why did why did the nose ring lady, why did she drop the baby off in the middle of the bridge?
Because she was on crack.
Is that what it was?
That's what I took it as.
Was she because Nora told her to F off, which I love that scene, but
so good.
Maybe she was afraid of Nora, but it just was weird. It was a weird scene, but I agree with whatever everyone has said so far.
I mean, maybe the baby got knocked out of her hands or something as she was running, or, I mean, it could have been a multitude of things. But I think
got tangled up in her nose ring, maybe that.
Did everybody notice that? I mean, I can see why they did this, but the baby was like CG'd onto the stampede.
Oh God, they had to. Yeah, they had to.
I
was already.
As the parents in the room, I was like, "Oh my God, if they kill this baby, I'm done. I'm out."
There's no like little person stunt person that they could have had do that or something like that. Like, come on, guys, come on, Hollywood.
You know what? I'm just gonna leave that one alone. Dude.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Good choice.
Go there. We're gonna. You know what? We're gonna let you sit with that one, Dylan.
Okay, I'm in timeout. I have my dunce cap on.
While we sit, we'll listen to our first voicemail.
All right, let's do it.
Rafe Collins Jr. here. I saw your announcement earlier. I might have missed this, but hopefully you get it in. The hanging questions for me is what exactly, the hanging question for me, the two hanging questions are, what exactly did Virgil do to John, and who is Virgil related to? I thought that was clear, at least for me, but apparently it's up in the air for lots of lefties. So I would like to hear your opinions on that. My opinion is that he did something inappropriate to John. This is a small town, and he could have encountered John as a child and done something he wasn't supposed to be doing. He might have also done something to Evie. So I used to think he was John's father, but Michael seemed to give some traction to the idea that he might have been Erica's father, which makes it even more weird. I mean, who marries the daughter of the man who molested them? Who does that? Okay. I would love to hear your thoughts. The show has been great.
Well, Ray, thanks for calling in. Yeah, I mean, I think, well, first of all, Virgil is Erica's dad. I mean, I think that's right, guys, right? Like, they said that Virgil, okay, good.
Yeah.
He might have said that in before the finale, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, well, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. But ultimately, why would Erica marry this guy that, it's a small town. They get 9,261 people. Maybe they were high school sweethearts. They didn't really get into that. And I'm not really sure if that is entirely important of why they got married, but just knowing that.
Jack had a good thing about this, I think, on our last show. Do you want to say that one, Jack?
Was that at guilt?
Yeah, answer like said, it was out of guilt.
Maybe she married him out of guilt.
Oh, I like that idea.
And that's why she kind of didn't have that love for him, or there was that
love for him at
dissonance
the end. It
between
was
the two.
just.
Or maybe you could get like all Back to the Future on this, when Marty falls out of the tree and then he gets hit and she's like, "Oh my God, I love you. And we're nursing you back to health." You know, maybe it's the same exact thing.
So,
like the worst version of that.
Yeah, I know.
The very worst version.
So he's her guilty remnant.
Oh,
check out the Guilty Remnant podcast, guiltyremnantpodcast.com.
Hey, shameless plug. All right. Yeah, no, I think, I mean, yeah.
I'd like to think that they knew each other from when they were little kids. That's what I, got the impression of too, that they probably knew each other before. I don't think that he met her through his, situation with Virgil. Also, we don't know the whole story on that. Things have been alluded to, but we don't know the full story. So I guess the
timeline is fuzzy because, what happens to John happens early on. I imagine that's what Virgil said. He heard him a long time ago. And then John ups and decides to shoot the guy, 4 or 5 years or 6 years, whatever it was, prior to what we're seeing now in the current timeline. So what gave John the reason to fire on Virgil?
I was wondering if he molested Evie, and if that's why Evie was crying so much in the tub, in addition to the regular things going on in her life, and if why she was so messed up, and that's why she told her mom, "You understand." If maybe Virgil, molested Evie.
Maybe that's why John's so pissed off.
Yeah. Because that would line up with the timeline. If Evie was, 5 when he went to jail? Mm-hmm. Say he found out, and she was already born. Mm-hmm. She was 5. So I don't know. I'm not going to lie.
That makes too much sense. That makes so much freaking sense. I need to sit with that one, but that completely makes sense.
Wow. But it would explain why Evie was really effed up.
That's some heavy shit stuff. Sorry.
Sorry.
Or I mean, it could have even been just he saw them with her and it just was too much for him and it came back and he just fired on her anyway. But you're right. It definitely could be something related to the kids. The timeline would definitely match up.
And I wonder too, I'm not going to lie, I kind of missed all the little conversations about this for quite some time until it was really thrown in my face. Virgil did something, and Virgil did something most likely sexual to someone in the Murphy family. It just kept going under the radar for me, and I'm trying to figure out how big of a deal was this in Damon's mind, in the writer's minds. What are we supposed to be getting from this? Are we supposed to really wonder about this, or was it just you're supposed to know there's conflict within the family and it's serious conflict?
And it would also make sense as to his reaction when Kevin said to him, "Hey, I know what he did to you," and he was like, "You don't know shit." You get the impression that perhaps he's perhaps in denial about the situation, but then again, he seemed pretty convincing that Kevin wasn't right about the whole story.
Anyone else have any comments about this topic? I know it's like a heavy kind of topic. I'm uncomfortable about it anyway, and I'm like, I don't want to talk about it.
Well, why wasn't Erica more upset when Michael was going over there? If she knew what was going on with John.
Yeah, there's definitely more to the story.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't want him living in the town.
That's a question either way, whether it was Erica or whether it was Evie or if it was John. I think it's equally, but he may have turned to God afterward or something like that, and they found she found a way to forgive him, and John didn't.
I would agree with you, Jay. If anyone assaulted in any way, shape, or form my family, I would have left Jordan. I don't care how big of a miracle it is. Right, I would have gotten the hell out of town and said, you're still living in your camper. You're still somehow here without like a parole officer or something. Right. I'm getting out of here. So I would agree. It was very, very confusing. And I think that's why I didn't pick up on it so much, because Michael was going there and delivering pies and hanging out with him. So it definitely threw me for a loop. All right, we're going to move on to a less kind of just squeamish subject. Dave Smith wants to know, do you think that Kevin's wish that Holy Wayne granted him really actually came true in that final scene of the finale?
Yeah, I've seen that question. I've seen it around. I mean, it just depends. It depends if you think Holy Wayne actually had any powers or not. And I think you could see it as that, or you couldn't. For me, I feel like if I'm looking at Kevin's story, I feel like it's less about a wish being granted and more fulfillment of Kevin's odyssey that he went through. Like, he went through all these trials and tribulations. Like, it wasn't just given to him. He had to die literally multiple times, and then come back and fight his way back, and realize and learn that his family is important to him and that he does want to go home. Because I love that they used in when he was singing Homeward Bound seasons, I can't remember the entire episode, the flashback episode where you saw him just so dejected and not involved in his family whatsoever. And it was almost like him seeing the error of his ways and him coming back. So, I think you could absolutely see his Holy Wayne's wish being granted, but I feel like Kevin really earned it. It wasn't something just given to him. He fought for what he got at the end of that episode. I think that's what was so satisfying about it.
Agree.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he fought for it so much as that he just realized he deserved it eventually. Remember his dad saying, it is enough. It is fulfilling enough. So did he just have a realization that he deserved it finally, you think?
Well, he actually said it. He said he wants to go back because he deserves it. Right? Isn't that what he told the British guy?
That's right.
Yeah.
I thought he was Australian. Oh, no.
It's all the same.
We went over this. He is an Australian accent, but it is an American actor, so.
Well, in Manhattan, he plays an English guy. So
he says mate, and it is I listened to him really good because at first I was like, oh, I was wrong. This is British, but he is using an Australian accent. But I guess we're all just Americans.
Called out on our podcast.
Accents very well.
But the most important thing: did he have a nose ring? Did we see?
It wasn't as on point.
Okay. He did on the bridge.
Our next email comes from, oh man, these words. Miggensburg? I'm thinking that's Miggensburg. All right, Miggensburg wants to know, will the Leftovers be snubbed by the other award shows? Has Kevin's arc peaked, and will his role be diminished next season? What arc will the show take now 4 years post-departure? I would like to see a jump forward of enough years for people to forget and the story go post-apocalyptic following a huge government crackdown on the GR. Blake,
whoa.
What are your thoughts? That's serious. That's a lot of questions. There's a lot of stuff right
there.
Wow.
First of all, what is this? The Hunger Games? What are we talking about here? Well, I will say this. Will they be snubbed by other award shows? Probably.
They did. Golden Globes. They just got snubbed.
Yep, and I totally agree. And I don't know why. I don't know how. I do have a little faith in the Emmys. Oh, well, didn't they just change the rules recently where, people get to vote on it, but even though they don't have to watch it, it's just done by popularity, I guess, or something like that? And, that's how people theorized that Game of Thrones in this last season won best drama, because people were just like, oh, Game of Thrones, check the box,
I know that name.
Yeah, I know. And so if that's the case, then The Leftovers is really screwed. Despite the good praise and the fact that it's a critical darling of this season so far, you have guys like Seppenwall and all those guys finally coming around and saying this show actually really rocks. So is it going to be snubbed? I think so. And has Kevin's arc peaked?
Oh no, hell no.
I don't know. My feeling on it is that you could probably get away with, if you really wanted to do it, you could go without the Garveys in season 3, because you could make the case that their story is complete.
He's been healed.
He's been healed. He no longer has Patty. His father isn't haunting him anymore. His arc of going from someone who didn't feel his family was enough, then going crazy and then resolving it all in the season finale, that is a good arc. That makes sense. And will the show have a time jump? I would love to see a time jump, not like post-apocalyptic Hunger Games style.
2,000 years in the future.
I'd say like 4 or 5 years from now, when things have seemed to go okay, everything seems all right, and then something bad happens again, departure related or not. I don't know. Luckily I'm not Damon Lindelof, so I can't figure that out. But I don't know. What do you think, my love?
I just don't even know. The award shows are stupid. I'm sorry. I just think all of them are stupid. If we like a show and we say it's good, that's who I believe. I believe myself, and I don't believe any old stodgy guy that somehow has the right to say whether a show is amazing or not, because they don't know anything. That's it. And has Kevin's arc peaked? I want to go to Australia. I want to go see his dad. That's the part of the Garvey family I want to hang out with. His dad dancing around that fire with those natives.
Smoking some ganj.
I don't even know, but that's where I want to go. I want to explore this crazy connection that the Garvey family has. I think we're just touching the tip of the iceberg. Kevin came back from the dead.
Twice.
Seriously, this is huge. So has his arc peaked? Maybe in some ways, but there's this whole other level that I kind of really want to explore, but maybe we just need to let the mystery be.
Oh, look at you.
Nice.
Shameless plug.
Anyone else want to chime in?
Blake just said that it would be okay if we didn't have the Garveys anymore in the show. And I just am just letting that set in for my brain.
I feel like you offended him, Blake.
I just disagree.
I know. I think
so
I
much.
did.
I just disagree. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've never.
I think the show's over. UltraCast is ended now.
I know. He's banging his shoe on the table.
Yeah, I disagree. I've never seen anybody do that. There's obviously an anthology series where they do a new cast for the second season, but I've never seen them do first 2 seasons with somebody then dump them off. Mm-hmm. For no reason, but yeah, I don't see that happening at all. And I need Nora. I need Kevin. I've totally come around to him, and there's characters that we kept around. I would like to make sure also that the Murphys are in the next season, because I think there's a lot of there's still more story there to be told.
I could see it going both ways. Like, we've talked about how they really haven't done much digging into Jill's character, so it would be interesting to see kind of what's going on with her story. And, Kevin has lived many lives, as we've already seen, but I also can see, like, okay, now this is the next phase, like, with him and Nora living their lives and, like, maybe going through some other new shit that happens. But to Blake's point, I could also kind of see them being like, okay, like, we've done our due diligence with the Garveys, and now it's time to focus on the Murphys and potentially, some new characters. So I could really, really see it going either way.
Oh my God!
Thanks, Tiffany. You got my back.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I also don't think Nora's story came completely full circle in the second season. Also, I don't think that her story is anywhere near being done.
And that's where I would go with it. I don't think we're done with the Garveys completely. I don't think you need to focus on Kevin as much. You have Nora that has so much more to get to pull the layers down. You have Matt and Mary. Like, oh my God, Matt and Mary.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much there. That we can get into. I know his last name's not Garvey, but he's part of that, that group of people.
He's on Team Garvey.
He's on Team Garvey, yeah. # Team Garvey. And,
trending right now.
Yeah. You have, Jill as well. well, and how that connects the Murphys to them. And then you also have Lori, F.U. Lori, like she's there and she's back. And then Tommy's there, and Tommy's there with Holy Wayne's kid as part of the
there's
family.
so much uncompleted story there.
Absolutely. So while I think Kevin's arc, if we could say peaked or has come to, I think a good, plateau, if you will, that whole entire group of people has a lot to go through, and maybe that Garvey has kind of gone through what he's gone through. He can be a resource and a mentor, or just somebody that's there for those people to help them get through the things that they still have in front of them and that they need to get through.
I don't know, because season 2 was a complete shock to me. I'm not going to even try to figure out what's going to happen in season, because they could be nobody. I mean, they could be all new characters.
It's true.
We don't know, because we were saying on another podcast we were doing recently, talking to someone, and I said Lindelof's if I was Lindelof, maybe I would have wanted to, cause I'm kind of a coward, I would have said, okay, I'm good after season 2. I hit a home run after what he went through with Lost. Maybe just go, hey, season 2, I'm done. I'm walking away. But
you would Costanza it, right?
I would Costanza it, yeah, because season 3, there's going to be a lot of pressure on him.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this season was so good. We've all said, you get some people comparing it to the best season of television they've ever seen. How do you top that? I mean, I'm glad they got a third season, but I don't know if I can handle the pressure. I'm just saying.
All I know is that if there's one person that I needed to trust to take on that challenge, it would be Damon.
Well, and the reason I trust him as well is that he has faced some of the harshest criticism and honestly unfair. You can criticize it, but like that guy is just all the worst of the internet trolls of the world has thrown their spite at him. And he faced that, and he still came out with this amazing season. And you could argue that season 1 he may have been a bit depressed, and maybe rightfully so, or maybe just the subject matter just made him depressed, among other things in his life. But like he was able to stand up to all of that and still make this awesome season. And I think it helps that this show doesn't have the viewership that Lost had, or the wide appeal that Star Trek or Prometheus or Tomorrowland has, where he kind of there's not that. All the eyes looking on him, and even though people have loved this season and have talked about it, it still is nowhere near the top of the pops by any stretch of imagination. That's why it won't win any Emmys. Fargo will probably win all the Emmys because it's far more loved and already has the resume of getting awards. But I think that's a space that Damon has proven that he can thrive in. The first season of Lost, he did it just because he was a nobody and put that together. And now that there's not really that magnifying glass pouring down on him, he's been able to make this. So I'm not that concerned about where season 3 will go.
Yeah. Speaking on season 3, Terry Pitnick on Twitter asked, is season 3 worth a 12 to 13 episode for the season finale?
I don't think there's any way to do that.
I think I'd keep it at 10.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we don't know what's going to. I mean, this
you don't know the
season
story
could have been.
yet.
This season could have been 12 or 13.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I mean, I wanted more, but sometimes more's not. Sometimes it's not good to keep going on and on. Lost was when they had 23 episodes and they had to keep, coming up with different episodes each week. I'd keep it at 10.
The final seasons of Boardwalk Empire and the Newsroom were shortened to like 6 and I think 3 or 4 episodes for the Newsroom. So usually for a final show, especially I know that we're all excited about a third season, but I still think that it's being cut short. I don't want to say it's cut short, but 3 seasons, it's rare for a show to be 3 seasons that is completing its story the way the storytellers wanted to. It's usually the good 4 or 5 seasons before that.
That's why I'm holding out for Netflix. I feel like this is going to be like Arrested Development, which didn't get enough glory while it was actually on air.
Right.
And then people learned about it, and Netflix, or whether it's, hopefully, I don't know, I'm just projecting the future my own way, but that's what I'm thinking, is that this is such a great show that it's going to take a while. It took a while. Blake didn't even know about Lost until season 3, when I was like, excuse me, if you don't know about this fantastic show, hi, I'm your new girlfriend, and I got to educate you.
Sit down in that chair.
That's right. For
and
a whole
Harry
week.
Potter too.
Oh yeah, we had a lot of television while we first started. doing
What
our
were you
head to toe.
doing? Like, what's? Come on.
Cue you're a Wizard Harry soundbite.
I do, as a matter of fact. It's around here. You're a wizard, Harry. There you go.
What? Plan that.
I also have my Lost soundbite too.
We have to go back, Kate.
Yeah, so I had to help educate him in the wonderful world of these items.
I was too busy watching 24. What do you want me to do?
Just
I
to
watched
learn better.
24 and Lost at the same time.
Oh God, here we go.
So
There's time for both.
yeah, so that's what I'm hoping is that, okay, now we know that there's only 3 seasons, and I know a ton of people that have just joined this season, and the same thing's going to happen next season. But I'm really hoping, who knows, maybe in the future, Netflix will call Damon in like 5 years from now, just like Gilmore Girls. They're coming back, guys. So have hope. If there's more of a story to tell, that Damon can pull a Gilmore Girls.
Just made my life complete with the Gilmore Girls coming back. I'm so excited.
What if season 3? Go ahead.
I was saying, I get the impression that Damon Lindelof was okay with it. I think that it was partly his decision as well to end that 3rd season. And also, I don't think a show's ever gone off of HBO and survived on another channel. I think HBO is pretty strict about that. But not to trash your dreams or anything like that.
Well, I would say just knowing Damon the way I do, and it's not like I'm not his friend or anything. I've just talked about him for over a decade. But knowing him like how I know him, I think he's like to your point. I think he's perfectly fine with it ending. I think he would fight for more if he wanted more. And I think to also take the Netflix idea, then he can now go do something else. He can go do another show. He can go, like, I think this season has proved that he can create other things. He can go and develop other characters and some type of other mythos that he can work within, and it still be enthralling television. So I think he's okay with 3. He'll end it at 3, and I don't think he'll lose any sleep over it. But that doesn't mean that he's done with TV, and that he won't come up with something else brilliant that we'll all enjoy and probably podcast about.
Plus, if a show ends on a good note, like you say, Breaking Bad, I wouldn't want the way it ended. I'm great with it. I don't want to spoil anyone who hadn't seen it, but I wouldn't want to come. Well, Better Call Saul is more of it's a flash. It's pre Breaking Bad, but no, but like say, you mentioned Arrested Development. I think it would have been better if it just didn't come back. There's just shows that just shouldn't come back.
Don't force it.
Yeah, just leave it alone. If it's not, why hurt its legacy?
Well, just on both sides.
As long as the Gilmore Girls is allowed to come back, I'll be happy.
Okay, well, someone that a lot of people want to see coming back is Patty. And Terry wants to know, do you want to see Patty back at some point in season 3? She feels that the resolution for her was very well done and understands why they might not bring her back. But it's the final season, and Ann Dowd was so central to the show that Terry wants to see her back in some sort of capacity for an episode or 2. So what do you guys think about that, bringing Patty back for this one last season?
I think it's...
I'm like Kevin. I'm done with her.
Yeah, I think it would be ridiculous to continue Patty.
Yeah,
because there's no way to top it. There's no way to top it. Like, it was that International Assassin was such a satisfying conclusion to her story, and it not redeemed her, but at least it kind of resolved.
Well, you understood why she was why she was so bitter. You felt sorry for her.
Also, she was killed like 3 times. Like, I kind of think it's time to be done.
Did anybody watch the show Heroes?
No.
To the finale of first season and then gave up.
Speaking of shows that shouldn't have come back.
Okay, I mean, I didn't watch I haven't seen the new ones, but that show killed off characters several times and would not kill them. Like, it killed them and then they had a twin sister. Or they killed them and somebody else took that person's likeness, like they morphed into that person's likeness. It happened several times in that show, and it was the most annoying thing ever. I can't imagine them being able to bring Patty back again. And it making sense. Yeah, we saw in one episode she got dropped down a well, shot in the face. It was after she cut her own throat.
Drowned.
Yeah. So I think she's good.
She's gone. Mike Murray wants to know what you think Nora's reaction will be when she finds out from Tommy that Lily is Holy Wayne's baby.
I think she's gonna lose her shit.
Or can we say she's gonna say holy shit?
Oh, it was right in front of me.
I thought that's where you were going.
Yeah, it totally was. I think, we've seen that she is a total firecracker. She's going to have a lot of opinions about this, whether or not she believes Holy Wayne's, abilities. But I think she's going to be pissed. I don't know if she's going to be in denial about it or if she's just going to be super, super upset and just trying to like get to the bottom of everything. But I think this is going to be a very insane episode if we do, if that does prove to be something that we will get to see.
I'm going to go out on a limb on this one. Perhaps baby Lily, assuming Holy Wayne's powers were real, have passed on to Lily, and hugging Lily is healing her the way that Holy Wayne did. That was the most adorable reaction ever. Yeah, so maybe I don't think that she would mind. I don't know why she would mind. She didn't have a bad relation or experience with Holy Wayne. Actually, she came back from that convention after hugging Wayne and she was all better, all healed up. She's all set.
Well, do you think it will reinforce the idea that it's not her baby? Like maybe they put that in there for the season 2 finale for a reason. I mean, other than the fact that they tried to call back to the season 2 premiere, I get that, but it really isn't her baby, obviously.
Right.
I mean, but she adopted it. I get that, but it's Holy Wayne's baby.
Well, remind me, has Tommy told Jill? Like, did Tommy and Jill knows that Tommy dropped the baby off, right?
Yes.
Jill knows, yeah, but I think she's
Jill
the
knows.
only one who knows.
So here's the thing: Jill hasn't told Nora yet. What if Tommy and Jill never tell Nora? Because Jill's supposedly like super cool with Nora. Why wouldn't she say, "I know where this baby came from"?
Well, just because she knows. Yeah.
Does it matter?
Yeah, just because Tommy had the baby doesn't necessarily mean that it's Holy Wayne's baby in Jill's perspective, right?
But Tommy doesn't believe in Holy Wayne either. I don't think Tommy's even going to tell Nora.
Yeah, I don't think so
that's
either.
probably right.
What if Tommy told Lori? Lori tells Nora.
Oh, see, Lori might do that as a bitch move.
Oh,
Yes,
my God.
there you go.
Don't ever underestimate the girl bitchiness.
What do you think? I just think that happens.
I know I'm really
There's
supportive of this
there's
whole
season-
you
there's
being
season
with my
3 right
husband
there.
thing, but
FYI.
Now that would make for interesting. Well, John C. emailed in. He wants us to touch upon the violence against the non-violent approaches of Meg's Guilty Remnant section. She has that the witness should be stoned, but bluffs about the bomb. I know they're two different things, but it just leaves us with a mishmash mindset on what to expect from her character of the series to go forward from here. So if we remember, that poor guy, he said he didn't even see what was inside the barn, but he got stoned to death. Just some random Joe. Whereas she uses real plastic explosives, not bombs, but plastic fake bombs on the bus.
I mean, the whole thing with the stoning, I mean, that happens within the Guilty Remnant. I know the guy just discovered it on his walk or when he was just exploring near Jarden when he really shouldn't have been. Wrong place, wrong time. But as it relates to the Guilty Remnant being a public figure, I think Meg just wants to just mess with people. She doesn't really, I don't think she really wants to blow up the town of Jarden. Obviously she didn't. But even in that mindset of, I just want people to be screwed with. Like, take the grenade, throw it in the bus, and just smile as I'm walking away. Just because I can. You know, Damon talked about the Old Testament God in a podcast I was listening to recently. And he was saying how, like, Job would ask God in the Old Testament, why did you do this to me? Why did you cover me in boils? Why did you kill my family? And God's basic answer, he brought it down to this. He says, because I can. And that's just it. And if you don't like it, sorry. And if you do like it, great, let's go on together. That's how I felt about it.
well, that's why I love that Matt's favorite book is Job, which is awesome. I think for me, Meg, what I love about her kind of centric episode is it shows that she is unstable at its core, right? She has something inside her, she's broken, that she hasn't fixed, and like letting out whatever this is that she's trying to do, make people remember. She's not holding true to whatever tenets that the GR holds true to themselves. She's just using it to accomplish whatever she wants to accomplish, and what she wants to accomplish is make people realize that, you know, quote unquote, the world ended, or or just in general, Earth, or life sucks. But somebody just needs to, I don't know, reach her or make her heart grow 3 sizes that day. That there's more to life than just the things that kind of get thrown at you that drag you down, like your mom dying and you not being able to talk to her because you had to snort some coke. But I think she's just unstable, and that's where these kind of weird, she swings one way with the stoning and then she swings another way with just not doing, it's just, there's so much instability there in her character, and I think it just matches her really, really well.
But do you think also, just playing the other side, that could be her actual tactic of like, I'm trying to throw everybody off, and it may seem that she's unstable. And I think to a certain degree she is unstable, but I also could see it being like, oh, you think I'm going to do this? Nah, not going to do that. Saving that for later, or saving something else. I've got something else brewing.
Well, there's almost this do you guys watch Community, the NBC show?
I haven't seen it.
Well, there was this great episode, it was like season 1 or season 2, where Abed kind of basically took on this kind of Jesus kind of figure, but he was like he was doing this documentary, and then he just kind of played into all the messianic kind of tropes, just like the generalized stuff that kind of make people follow you or not follow you, and the same kind of stuff Holy Wayne's doing. She could just be playing with those things that could get people to follow, much like the same way Laurie's just trying to fill in something into their lives, making up this fake religion of Holy Tommy or whatever it is to get people to follow, and she's playing with it so playfully on all the different sides that just, it's really kind of fascinating to see her character, where she is evil, but it's just this playful evil that's very, I don't know, enthralling to watch.
Okay, I'm sorry if this was blatantly obvious, but did she actually kill the people in the bus?
No, she did not.
No. Okay.
No. And I don't remember how they referenced it, but they did. She said that. She said when she was with the GR leadership, she said nobody got hurt.
And I think that's where I was getting confused. Like, was that a lie? Because to our eyes, it looked like that happened.
We also saw enough time for a grenade to explode. Like, they had a long shot, and a grenade never went off. But I'm sure we were all thinking, is this really happening right now? Is this gonna?
Right. Yeah.
Because we've seen them trick people, and we've seen in the episode Guest, somebody went up and handed Nora a grenade. Mm-hmm. So we've seen that trope before, but we were like, maybe Meg is, a lot more deviant than
But again, I thought that, like, from a storytelling perspective, it set us up perfectly, right? Because when she's on the bridge, we should already know that this is an elaborate ruse to, accomplish something else beyond just blowing something up. Because they showed her roll the grenade into the school bus, and then it didn't explode. So she's already kind of shown her hand or shown her style of play. Is it more extreme than the GR? Yes. But it's not in the
And it was
interest
kids.
Of... Yeah.
Like those kids thought they were going to die.
Yep. It's the worst.
There were two scenes, obviously, with Meg that really blew my doors off. One was when they threw the gas on Tommy, and she has the lighter and the cigarette, and you just wait. I would not have been surprised if they killed Tommy right then and there.
Season 1 Leftovers, he would have been burned alive.
I know, right? But I was waiting for that to happen, and it just never did. And I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. And the same thing with the grenade in the bus. Because you're not sure. You're just, there's just that little bit of self-doubt, or there's a little bit of doubt about Meg, where you're just like, is she that screwed up enough where she would blow up a bunch of kids? And as she's walking away, I'm just waiting for it to blow up, and it never did. And it was, not only was it good storytelling, but it was perfect filmmaking as well. That entire time. The Leftovers has really become a really, truly beautifully shot and beautifully lit and well acted show, well beyond my wildest dreams for this show.
The amazing thing was also that they didn't reveal that it was kids until after the grenade had been thrown, and then you hear the kids' voices.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was dead silent, and she comes in. We don't know anything that's going on, and then they reveal that it's kids after she's already closing up the door. I thought that they showed their cards in a very clever way in that scene.
Mm-hmm. Well, while we're talking about a bus, people are driving a lot in this show. Look at that weird transition.
We're going to talk about the movie Speed.
Hey, that was good. Kudos. Good job.
Jake Waldron wrote in that we've seen a lot of use of the red lights throughout the series. So a few examples are when Matt Jameson was at the stoplight. Mm-hmm. Then there was a red light in Laurie's office when she was a therapist. There's also a red light in the interrogation room when Kevin confessed to kidnapping Patty to the police. One of my favorite scenes. And then the last example that Jake gives is the red light in the hotel hallway when Kevin was talking to Neil before he strangled him. So what do you believe is the significance or the symbolism of the red lights in the Leftovers?
Yeah, the other thing that's missing from this, too, is the red light that appeared when he was taking the lie detector test.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was there as well. And listen, I'm not going to pretend I'm smart enough to figure this one out. I will say, I will give you the most obvious answer. And the most obvious answer is, it's a red light, man. Either it means danger or it means action, and it means stop. Ultimately, I think it's probably about the impending danger of what's about to happen if you don't do exactly what you need to do.
I'm going to completely disagree and say, I don't think it means anything.
Hey, that's why we're married. Awesome.
Anyway, I just think that they're red lights because it's a red stoplight. There's red lights. I just think there's red lights in this world.
Would you say it's a red herring?
Oh! We are not short on puns today, ladies and gentlemen.
It's where I became a father.
A lot of filmmakers will use red, like, for example, M. Night Shyamalan in The Sixth Sense famously used red for a lot of scenes to it draws attention and stuff like that. So that could have been a thing. I don't think there's some overarching thing in between all these uses of red lights.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything really deeper there. Agree with you, Mary.
I agree.
Unless Damon listens to this right now and says, I'm going to screw those people over and I'm going to write tons of red things in season 3.
I know.
The power we have.
Red lights everywhere.
Well, all I do know is that Roxanne doesn't have to follow the red light.
Oh.
One too many puns.
Here all night.
Good. Just with it, 211 on Twitter.
Just go with it.
Why do you think Patty...
Just go with it.
You know what? I'm going to have to play it. It's the Maryism bell.
I can't read. Why do you make me read things?
You got this.
I would do the same thing.
I can't even handle the Google Docs. Darn it. How was I allowed to be on air with reading a teleprompter? I have no idea. Okay, just go with it. 211 asks... Sorry, guys. You're getting to know me really well.
You know, the person that submitted this, they have to feel so special that they're getting so much focus right now.
Feel like I gotta Maryism. Okay. Why do you think Patty told Kevin that the girls departed? Ooh. Yeah, because Patty lied, guys. Why do you think she told Kevin that the girls departed? Well, let's start off. Dylan or Tiffany? What do you think? Just go with it, guys. Just go with it.
Maybe we should let the mystery be. I don't know. I think that Patty was kind of saying whatever suited her situation to try to, continue. She seemed to be continuing a lot of what she was doing before she died. I don't think that she planned on haunting Kevin after she died. I believed her when she said, I killed myself and I'm here. What do you want me to do? I'm not, I didn't have a say in this. So I think that she was just kind of messing with him as things went along.
Yeah, it seems like that was her MO from the beginning, just to kind of, literally and figuratively get in his head.
Well, I think at that point, Kevin didn't know the answer, so Patty couldn't give him the answer.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Well, I guess it just depended on where, Patty's, plane of existence was, Like, if he's sleepwalking, does he have the cognitive ability to even recognize that she's there, or is she there?
Well, he would recognize he obviously recognized that the girls were there, so he would know if the girls did or did not depart.
Yeah.
Because he could remember back to it.
And he saw them, locking the doors, keeping the music on. That's how he knew in the end.
So if
that
she
was
is
only
part of
after
his,
he got rid of her, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if she is part of his subconscious, though, that would then mean that he did know that the girls were there.
I don't think she was part of his subconscious, though. I don't think she was part of his subconscious. I think that she was a purgatory type of ghost or whatever. I think that she was able to see things that he didn't see. I think they proved that several times.
Yeah.
But they did have a good scene with Lori and Kevin in the motel room where she was saying, "Oh, the only reason you knew that because I talked about it."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that gave you just enough doubt that maybe it's there. Here, but I'm going to bake all your noodles.
This show did such a good job with doubt in the season where we even as podcasters all try to say, hey, this could be it, but we just have to say that it might not be because of this. They just, every time we had an answer, there was still some sense of doubt that the show purposely put out. on there.
Well, I'm gonna bake all your noodles here. I'm gonna say that she did not lie. She didn't even say that they departed. She said that they vanished. And there's a difference between departure and vanishing. And yeah, from their perspective, they did vanish. They left.
She didn't lie.
She didn't lie. She chose her words very carefully. Does that make sense?
Well, it could be, as Obi-Wan said, it's all depends on your point of view.
I was hoping you'd get that. Thank you.
Obi-Wan was a dick.
Way to lie to me, bro.
You told me kill my dad. Well, it depends on your point of view. It's like, no, it doesn't.
Now you sound like Luke.
You're just effing with me.
Yeah, only Siths deal in absolutes. So
I want to go to Tashi.
I want to go to Tashi Station and pick up some power converters.
Thank you for finishing it. Thank you for finishing that.
Mary, is
Nice
this one
one,
is this one
Francie. I can do this one,
Nico Oni
right?
Francie?
Oh.
no, it's nice, Francine. Nice,
Hey.
Francie.
Back off, bro. You make it from my wife.
You do that to me all the time. You have a ding for every time I mess
do.
up.
Only I can make fun of my wife, damn it.
Okay. Nice one, Francie. Says, did Meg and Evie practice the song beforehand? I would love to see that. And was the finale too non-violent for you? Did Evie and Meg, of course they practiced it. You cannot nail that 3-part harmony. Who was the third person? I feel like there were 3 people. Maybe it was like that brunette, or the crying girl.
The crying girl.
The crying girl.
Did they practice the song? Yes, that harmony was beautiful, and they totally practiced it.
I see now, Mary. You play a reed instrument, correct?
But I'm also a chorus teacher.
Okay. Well, see, for me, I studied jazz and classical guitar in college, and if
We have
you're
some
more
background information into this. Everybody.
into the jazz school of thought, I feel like you can. It wasn't incredibly complicated, our harmony. I feel like you could have maybe picked it up if you was feeling,
And it was Evie who joined in, though, right? Yeah. 'Cause she, and she's a chorus member. You're right. She could have just. I was
followed
wondering.
the pitch.
Yeah, I just thought that they would sing this as a joke. That's what I was thinking. Like, because how did Meg know it?
I think
Meg
that
didn't
Evie
live a
taught
miracle.
her the song throughout their history together.
Yeah, I think that would have been planned.
Yeah, I think that she had to have been like, "Hey, look, this is just how ridiculous they have this stupid song, and I have to sing in chorus." And she's like, "What's the song?" That could easily come up in conversation. And she's like, "Oh, I'll tell you the whole song," and they practice it, and they practice the melody.
Can I just say it would be really funny if like oh my god, what if like Kevin came into our thing and we did this like creepy version of the song? Like we should totally prep for that moment if it does happen.
You all know that you've had scenarios like that through your mind where afterwards you're like, oh my gosh, I really wish I had said this. They totally did. Meg and Evie totally did that. But I just love how they don't talk, but they can sing. And they can sing in harmony.
Well, Meg talks. Meg talks like
Meg does whatever
seems
she
like
wants.
the lack of talking
Meg don't
doesn't seem
give
to
enough.
be that big of a deal in this season.
yeah. I think it isn't for Meg's chapter of the Guilty Remnant, which isn't really the Guilty Remnant anymore. It's it's this extremist chapter of the Guilty Remnant.
Well, I mean, or you could say it's like the Lutheran Church to the Catholic Church.
Well,
It's our fun little spin-off.
I go Calvinist. Calvinist is probably a little bit more
I don't
accurate.
go to church. I don't understand any of this. Okay, was the finale too non-violent for you guys?
Well, here's another question too that I want to add on.
I like
to
it to
this.
be called a
About-
spin-off. I like that.
Did the finale did the finale meet your expectations with like that with what Meg was doing? Was it underwhelming to you, or did it just hit the mark?
Well, she did exactly what she wanted to do. She caused chaos, and she took away that sense of like elitism that Jarden had, and flipped the switch on the whole town.
But she also brought family back. She told Tommy family is important, and she brought the family back together.
Very good point.
So
I don't know why
Is it
she'd
just
want
because
to
she
do that,
wants
though.
to? Does she just want to take advantage of the idea the idea of family? Like, because if you can hurt someone's family, that means you're hurting them the most that you possibly can, right?
Sure.
Well, how many people believe she's carrying Tommy's baby?
I don't.
Yeah, I talked about that, and everyone disagreed with me when we did like our predictions episode, and they say there's too many babies on the show, so it doesn't
There's not enough time, in my opinion. How long ago was she impregnated? Like Evie?
Yeah, and plus
This whole thing was like 60 days because that's how long. I don't know. Like the dog was still quarantined, so it couldn't have been more than 60 days.
Oh, good point. Look at you.
I know. I keep track of ovulation cycles, guys. Now.
So do I.
But she wears loose-fitting clothing, though.
Oh yes, which is always good.
Yeah, but we have the Jameson baby, and Lily. We have lots of tons of babies, so that's why I was violently shut down at that idea when that was one of my predictions, and so I guess I've kind of moved on from that, but it's possible.
Dave Smith on Twitter wanted to know, do you think that Lily was the cause that made Mary wake up, as Nora, Lily, and Mary were all touching during the earthquake? So is it Lily that helped bring Mary up to being awake?
Maybe Lily has these powers, the Holy Wayne powers, so who knows?
I think that's a sweet sentiment. I don't really know, and I think again, just kind of need to let the mystery be on this one as well. I don't think it really matters.
This is the Leftovers. Like if people are looking for like answers from us, we don't freaking know. We're the same as you.
We're getting real granular here, guys.
Yeah,
I'd say this: if Holy Wayne's powers were real, then yes, Lily might have something to do with a lot of this, because I think that if Holy Wayne was real and we're already understanding that there's special stuff going on in the Garvey family bloodline, then I would believe that Lily has some powers.
And more to that point, you also have to accept the fact that there are supernatural things happening in this universe. You have the town of Jarden, you have Isaac, and you have all that stuff is happening. So it is easy to at least infer that Wayne did have powers, because there are things. It's like Game of Thrones. The magic in Game of Thrones started happening when the dragons were born. So it makes you wonder, was the magic starting to happen after the departure? Because that was a supernatural event, perhaps.
As a spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, that's like 6 years ago. Sorry.
Well, I think you could also say that the fact they showed us in this cave woman way before modern times, there was some type of mystical thing going on in that town, in relation to the earthquakes and the eagle and all those kinds of things. So I just think in this universe that they're in, the supernatural is a more real plane of existence for these people. Mm-hmm. Whether they can see it or whether they accept it is another side of it, but I feel like it's always been there in this Leftovers universe.
So do you, Jay, think that Mary woke up because it was Miracle or because of Lily? Do you think Lily had anything to do with that?
Well, there's a lot of theories about Lily, and I think even last season, like, will she be some type of conduit or doorway into something? There's a lot of talk. Is she like an Antichrist baby? So there's a lot of different theories about Lily and what's her significance. And the fact that her father had some ability touching, it's something that is very much like digging into some of the smallest little minutia of detail. But in any type of Lindelof show, there's some things that end up being absolutely nothing, and there's some little things that end up being huge things. Like I chastised Jack for focusing so much that the car was quiet when they were driving home in the first episode. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. Quiet, whatever. Sometimes you just need some quiet time. But it ended up being this huge thing. We're basically telegraphing that, hey, they might be in the guilty remnant, and it's just this perfect.
It literally was the clue.
Right? It literally was the biggest
if Jay would have cut me off, it would have had it figured out the first.
Oh, you kept talking about it. You don't listen to me anyway. But so like I think it's perfectly fine to say, like, hey, maybe Lily was the cause. She was there. But it's also safe to say that when those earthquakes happen and whatever shifts in that reality or that plane of existence, that could also bring her back as well.
Jack, do you have a crackpot theory about this?
No, we had a caller. It was a theory from a caller, and I said, wow, great theory. I didn't even think about it, but I think maybe it's a combination of both the town and Lily together brought her back. I don't know. It just, I like to believe she did bring him back. Mm-hmm. Did bring Mary back, so I side with that.
Shakita asks if Damon was able to come up to you before season 2 aired and let you read the entire season. And then he said, okay, we have 10 episodes, but we can only air 9 this year. Which episode would you cut from the season? And what would be your answer?
That was so easy last season.
This is uncomfortable.
Because Damon would be asking.
I have an answer.
Yes.
All right, go ahead. Give the answer.
Damon, why don't you come to me when you were writing Lost?
Oh, expose, please.
I like
Goodbye.
expose. I'm fine with expose. Is fine. It's
God.
Stranger in a Strange Land.
Stranger in Strange Land.
You know, I
At
feel
least
like I'm the only person on the planet that likes
That's
Stranger in
the
a Strange
tattoo one,
Land.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
No, because
Because you
I
at
didn't
least
mind it.
expose was like self-aware of its ridiculousness. Like it was very aware. It was aware of the fact people hated Nikki and Paulo. It was aware of just like how absurd it was for them to try and insert these characters, you know, that saying that they were there the whole time. Like it was so self-aware of everything that people were upset about.
I still
those
don't
two.
understand why they didn't they just want on another part of the plane the whole time.
But I will say that
Anyway.
Jack did something he does really well, which is deflect and not really answer the question.
I don't have it. I could not give an answer for this one.
I would say
That's a tough one.
Before we even go on, we have to give a shout out to Shakita for single-handedly getting this show renewed. Single-handedly,
Oh, I know.
we have to give a shout out to that. She actually was really
consistently tweeting them.
Yeah,
each and every day.
Yeah.
So good job on that, Shakita. But
If I would answer this question, I think I'd go without the premiere. I would go without the premiere because you could eventually meet the Murphys, in later episodes. But I love the premiere. But if I had to answer one, it would be the first episode.
I feel like
Yeah.
if we're not talking in terms of linear progression, you would be able, there's so much jam-packed into every episode that you kind of have to unpack and decipher that I feel like they'd be able to just take the content from an episode and kind of sprinkle it throughout the season.
you know, actually, if we want to keep the story, you know, told the way it's told, we could cut. I mean, I love the episode; it's one of my favorite episodes. But if you cut out International Assassin, you could absolutely still play the story in a very similar way. Because I think a lot of that was diversionary for that episode. But I know that's going to make people freak out and everything like that. So I'm not calling for that.
That was a very visually important episode. But yeah, I kind of agree with you that you could take that out and you could allude to what happened there without actually needing to see it.
I would actually cut Lens.
Really?
Yeah, and well, here's why. I know. Well, if I had to pick one, and I would have to keep some of the stuff, you'd have to put some of the plot.
No, you
somewhere
can't. You
else.
can't keep it. You gotta cut it.
Oh man.
You're taking away TV's best girlfriend, by the
Well,
way.
she is not TV's best girlfriend.
She's
this
totally
season.
TV's
and that
best girlfriend.
conversation at the end was.
Okay, well,
That was probably my favorite
Well,
part
all right,
of the
well,
season.
explain your answer.
I have
Explain
a
your
problem
answer.
with the whole Lens thing.
Okay.
It went nowhere. It went nowhere. This whole like MIT. Maybe you're near somewhere. Maybe there's. It was
got her
just
to
there.
leave Kevin, though. She left Kevin because of that.
She left Kevin because she's a bad girlfriend.
She's a saint. Leave her out of this.
I think
No, it just that if I had to pick one, but I do love it. I'm just saying, if I had to pick one, I wished that it would have come back somewhere else, just a little bit. I think that it's a really cool concept that they're trying to figure out places. I mean, the whole idea, like, it's a matter of geography. Like, it was all these different things, and we used it so much in the beginning to kind of cover up, oh, forget that Evie left. Don't forget that Evie wasn't talking in the car. Let's think about these other things for a little while. But I feel like we went down this direction of trying to figure out why nobody departed from Miracle and why people departed, and I don't know. I could do without a little bit of Lens.
It was kind of a big thing to point out about her character and then never touch on again.
Mm-hmm. I
I'm
agree.
with you there.
I know that everybody that has heard me talk about it before, my favorite episode of the first season was Two Boats and a Helicopter, which was the Reverend Jameson episode. I actually didn't really, really love the Reverend Jameson episode this season. I know that I'm probably in the minority on that one. I wouldn't take that out, though. I think I have to agree with Blake. I think that as far as I think I could do without either the first or the second episode. I think the story could be told. I think the second one would probably be easier to cut and still keep the story.
No, I think the second one is absolutely vital to the story because it gets you from Mapleton, it gets you to Jarden, and then it gets you to one of the core mysteries of the season 2, which is Kevin waking up at this drained pond.
But
if you let go of that, then
the
it
first
takes away the
episode had the
tension
lady
from John
in the cave, though, and the story was nowhere without the lady in the cave. I'm just joking.
What do you mean?
I'm just joking.
Oh, okay.
But that did have the situation that was the entire focus of the whole season happening in the first episode. So that's kind of why I was tipping the scale over. But yeah, I suppose you're right.
Jay or Jack, do you have anything else to add about if you had to cut something?
I'm
so
gutless.
awkward.
I'm gutless. It's a great question, but I just can't. I would just say no. I don't eliminate anything.
That was the most debate we got this whole in this whole.
Great question.
It's a great question, and it's. I think it also then highlights how great this season is, right? Because I think you look at a lot of seasons of TV shows. Some of the favorites of like even Breaking Bad. There's episodes you can cut out of the best seasons of Breaking Bad. There's episodes you can cut out of the best seasons of The Sopranos. And this season, like
Lost.
you really there's not anything you can really cut out of this season without it really, I think, hampering the experience. But if I had to pick one, I think you're right. I think you could pick out the first episode because it does kind of retread most of the plot points in the rest of the season. But again, even taking that out, I think almost crumbles the whole thing because it's just a great expectation setter for the entirety of the season. Like that the first episode made a statement to me, and I think a lot of people at home, that this is not the same show you watched season one,
right.
And that's a good thing. But still, it's a tough question to answer.
The first season was much easier. BJ and the AC, the Baby Jesus episode, cut that out. Get it out of there.
That's the Jesus I prefer. Little baby Jesus. Swaddling clothes.
I think all of those little things, whether it was the cave woman scene or Lens, they help distract us from all the little things about Evie. They made me think that there was something special in the water. That's all I can tell you. Anyway.
They told you about Evie episode 1. She was, she's with the GR. Her car was quiet. They gave it to you.
That spoiled the whole season.
The Vertigo says, I think that the earthquakes are a sign that a divine intervention is occurring. So how wrong am I and why?
I don't think
Very
you're
wrong.
I don't think you're wrong in the sense that there's nothing to tell you that it's not divine intervention, right? Kevin goes in and he's dead to rights with a cinder block attached to his leg, and then all of a sudden another earthquake happens, draining all the water from the reservoir. I think you're not wrong. Are you right? There's no way to know. Just like anything in life, a lot of things that we consider divine intervention, like it could be, or it could just be happenstance. You don't know. It depends on the lens in which you look at life and its existence.
Very well said. I like that answer a lot. As a person who's like not very religious, I think this is a hard question to answer. So I'm kind of leaning more towards happenstance, but I think I just really like the way that you just put that.
I think if you accept the idea that it's a divine intervention, then you also have to go back to the finale where there's an earthquake right before Kevin goes into his house. And it calls back to the earthquake that crashes the cave with the cave woman. But instead of Kevin seeing a destroyed house, he sees his entire family. But the reason why I bring this up is because some people have asked the question, is Kevin dead at this point? Guy's shot through the stomach. He finally gets to his house. He sees his family. Is he either dead or is he going to die?
I talked about that.
And if you're actually going to talk about earthquakes being divine intervention, it's a natural follow-up to that whole idea. What do you guys think about that?
I think the reason Vertigo got the question in the first place was from Nora when she knocked over the cassette player listening to the Jesus talk, and then she said, "Fix that, Jesus," and there was an earthquake immediately, and then Mary woke up, or whatever, however you'd say. So I think that's where they got the idea from. But I don't think she'll ever answer that. I don't think. I think that it wants people discussing it, but I don't know if there's the answers.
Well, I think that's what Lindelof, like if you look at just about any piece of like fiction that he writes, he plays on that a lot. He plays on is it based in fact? Is it the whole man of science versus man of faith, or is it something more spiritual? And he plays on it in Prometheus, in Lost, in the Leftovers. Like he loves playing with that idea of is there something beyond the normal realm in which we live in? But he plays it so well because he plays it like in such a natural way. It's not necessarily catering to a religion of some sort, but it caters to, it challenges the idea, is there something beyond the realm in which we understand contributing to our everyday life? And I think it's something that he loves to play with that. I think it also it's just his personal life and his own dealings with religion and faith. And it comes through in his writing.
Mm-hmm. Mary is stepping out for a quick moment because she is going to get my daughter. I think Felicity is going to make a final appearance for this podcast. Right. So I'm actually really excited about that. Because you guys are gonna get a chance to hear her too.
Let's save this last question for Felicity, then see what she says.
Yeah, I know, right? Ultimately, that does it for all the listener questions. And I want to get your final thoughts then. About season 2, and I wanted to do it through the lens of this. Mary and I had a really good conversation on our show about the reveal of Evie in 1013 as opposed to the finale. And I was making the case that if you had the Evie reveal in the finale, it would have had a little bit more drama, and it would have had a little bit more oomph for not only the viewer but for the characters themselves. And I want to get you guys' thoughts on that. And Jay and Jack, I think we could start with you guys.
Yeah, I would say that what I think has made this season special is that, and I love the Variety article or the interview that they had with Damon after that episode, the Evie reveal, in that. Like it didn't use the cheap tricks that a lot of finales or a lot of TV shows use.
Walking Dead.
I mean, and even Lost too, right? And I think season 1 of Lost is one of the best seasons of all time, but it kind of used the cliche cliffhanger to close out the season, where you're looking down the hatch and you're not going to get any answers to it. Which ticked off a lot of people. And it's so that's the thing, like, let's bring you back. But I think Leftovers, both seasons, and one was more based on the book, so but it had a very natural, satisfying conclusion to a certain extent. Like, you say, okay, that makes sense. That's an end to this story, or to this chapter in the book. So I think in terms of this show, and I think it's what's made it special, is that Evie reveal is a perfect cliffhanger for any other type of TV show. Or even you could say, when the people are storming over the bridge, like that seemed like, oh, that makes sense on where this season would end. Like, it's not going to tie up all the bows because you want to come back for season 3. But it went beyond that. It went into him going back into the death world, wherever he was, and then totally satisfying just about every major storyline that was kind of brought up in this season. So to me, this season was different and incredibly satisfying because it didn't play into a lot of the tricks that TV shows like to pull, and I think that's why this season was special.
Mm-hmm. I think it also worked too because we still, even though they showed us Evie, was there, we still thought she was going to blow herself up. So you still had that tension and all that stuff, and with John yelling to Erica, "Get off the bridge," and everything that was going on. I had no problem with that. I liked it. I thought it was well done. And also, they couldn't do a cliffhanger like Lost or another show because they didn't know if they were coming back. They had to try to wrap up the story and let, how many shows get canceled before the end of their story. I think they had to kind of, because if this season had ended, if this had been the last, I'm satisfied. Great season. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm glad it's coming back, but I'd have been fine with it ending on season 2.
Yeah, well, that's the next question. I was just going to ask you if you thought that this was a good series finale, considering that you didn't get a whole lot of Nora, considering that you didn't get a whole lot of Lori at the end, and even Tommy too. Tommy didn't really fulfill a whole lot, other than saving Nora from getting trampled. Let's just say. Did you guys think that this was a satisfying series finale? If this were the case,
yes,
yeah, because even though you didn't get a lot of time, you still got little resolutions to the story, right? Matt, Mary came back, so he was just vindicated in all the things that he was kind of put through the season. Nora, there was a bit of her questioning whether or not, what she did was right in taking Lily, or if she's on the right path in choosing Kevin, or was she just kind of running away from her problem? But then she kind of chose to save Lily. I think any nice human person would do it, but still there was that kind of, that accepting of that she is Lily's mother. The nose ring crazy lady was wrong. And then you had Tommy, who was kind of lost aimlessly, but then realizing that family is everything to him, and he chose his family to be back with his family, which was that kind of pivotal moment of him saving Nora, but then also him being in the house. And then you have
with his mom, who he couldn't stand at the time. Also, Jill was in the house.
With her mom, and that. And again, is it perfect? No, but is life ever perfect and completely tied with a bow and everything's perfectly fine? No, but there are those moments in life where everything is together, and there's that desire to fight to make it stay together, and I think they're all in that place right now. So did it spend a lot of time? No, but I think it still hit those points with those characters.
Mm-hmm. Dylan, Tiffany, what do you guys think about the potential Evie reveal and your final thoughts for season 2, or if you have them?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I first watched the finale, I was a little bit late. And so a lot of people were like, oh my God, I need you to watch this. We need to talk about it. And I was like, oh man, like everyone's talking about how crazy it was. And I watched it and I kept waiting and waiting and waiting for the big crazy thing to happen. And I'm like, oh wait, the fact that there wasn't the big crazy thing is the big crazy thing. And I love that they did that. And it was just such good storytelling. And yeah, the fact that the Evie reveal happened a little bit sooner was just like, brilliant. Like they didn't need to have this giant explosion at the end because that would have been too obvious and frankly kind of lazy storytelling. So yeah, I'm very happy with this. I think if this were to be the series finale, it would have been okay. I'm glad that it's not, and I'm glad that we're going to hopefully get more from a lot of these characters. But I think the way that they wrapped it up, it definitely could be.
You gotta admit, it would have been pretty amazing if when Erica's sitting there on the bridge yelling, it's empty, and then it just some bomb just goes off right in her face. That would have been pretty nuts. One thing I wanted to bounce off of you guys, and it's in the same subject, is when Kevin woke up the second time after being shot, did it not seem the Jarden around him, didn't it seem like the Jarden in Purgatory when he was taking young Patty to the well?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So if they ended the show on that, I think that speculation would have been that he had died, and that was him in Purgatory carrying out whatever he needed to, and in his happy place with his family. I think that because it's pretty hard to explain in a normal sense that he survived that gunshot, but obviously the healing powers, the whatever, the Jarden, the miracle, all that kind of stuff could be used to explain that. But if the show did end, I think that's where I would have my interpretation, because if that was an ending, that would have been like a kind of an ending up to your interpretation. My interpretation would have been that he had died and was at peace with everyone in the in Purgatory or whatever.
Mary is back, by the way, and we do not have Felicity in tow.
Oh, man.
The night is young, guys. The night is young and full of terrors. Don't you worry.
Nice.
Terror is called a baby and a toddler. Anyway, I loved it. I know I was talking about Lens, but as I've said before, this is one of my favorite seasons of television thus far. My biggest complaint is that not enough people are watching it, because I just want to talk about this show. I'm talking about it with you. I just want to continue to talk about it. Seriously, that's a great idea. That's a really great idea. I loved it. I think I liked the Evie reveal happening when it did. I would agree with you, Tiffany, that if season 3 had not come back, this would have been fine for me. This would have been fine. I would have wanted so much more, but I would have said, all right, I can handle that. And Dylan, what a brilliant idea that Kevin may actually just be in Purgatory.
Thank you.
I didn't even pick up on that. I love it. So I had a great time. I had a great run. I can't wait for season 3. That's really what I get to.
Well, speaking of season 3, we have a season 3 finally. They just announced it, obviously, for those of you who don't know this information yet.
Because of
I don't know how. I know, yeah. Simply just because of her, dozen tweets or so, they renewed it. What I want to know is, what are you looking forward to in season 3? And if each of you have a prediction. And you know what? We'll start with you.
Actually, before you do that, I had pulled up the email that I talked about earlier about the dog, and I wanted to give the guy credit that had sent the email, and I'm just going to read it, and we don't really have to discuss it because it's just one of those. It was just kind of their outtake on it of the dog being his departed offspring. So I'm just going to read the email, and then you guys can say whatever you want about it or whatever. But it was from a gentleman named Chris, and he set the same prediction during last MegaCast. And he followed up on it and said, I know I called the MegaCast, or I know it's called the UltraCast this year, but I wanted to revisit my theory regarding Kevin's dog from last season's finale, which made a mirrored appearance in season 2's finale. Last year I proposed that the dog contained the soul of his offspring who had departed from Lori's womb. Going further, what if his dog is some incarnation of Kevin's mind, representing his feelings toward his family? In season 1, the dog was so angry as Kevin was grappling with family issues, but later returned docile when Kevin had decided to move forward with his new family. In season 2, his dog reappears in the scene where John offers his dog as a trade for Evie's location. And the loyal dog is there waiting for him on the other side of his second visit to the hotel world. Thanks for waiting, Kevin said. The dog only runs off when Kevin develops a new mission, which eventually leads him back to the extended family reunion. I don't think any of us expected such a warm, fuzzy ending to the emotional centrifuge that was season 2.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's a well-written email, and I'm really happy that they brought it up. And more importantly, I'm really happy about the fact that they just kept mirroring, itself. We've talked about this already, that the show was really self-aware. And the fact that they were able to mirror, season 1 in season 2 with the finale and the premiere, and finales and premieres of both at the same time, too. You had that same exact shot of Kevin kneeling down right in front of the dog, and then the dog appearing. Kevin was stumbling through town as it's burning and going crazy. Really, really cool stuff, and how they planned it all, and I'm really excited about it. But for season 3, I mean, do you guys have something that you want to see, or do you have a prediction of what will happen for season 3?
Yeah, I mean, we had kind of done a few predictions, and I've kind of, the way that I think it's going to go is kind of the way that I would like to go. I would like to see more of the existing characters, but I also wouldn't mind seeing a few new intros. I'm hoping and I'm thinking that the Australia tie-in will make a bigger play this time around. Yep. I would like to see what's going on with that and why it keeps popping up. Yeah, Australia, and I don't know. I'm very curious to see how it goes, just because I feel like the creators really listened to their audience, and I feel like they took some risks, but also were very mindful of their audience, and just, it was such beautiful storytelling, and I feel like they changed a lot from season 1. So I'm just very curious to see if they remain in the same kind of vein of the feel of this season, or if it's going to be drastically different.
It seems like all roads lead to Australia at this point. They've been playing seeds on that for a long time, so I think it's a safe prediction to say the show's going to go there next season.
Always calling my predictions safe, Dylan.
No, I'm saying it's one of my predictions also. I think that
it's a cushy Nerf theory.
What a sweet answer, honey.
The email that we got was from Lisa that I was saying, and that was one of the predictions that I liked. That's one of the ones I wanted to make sure to say. Also, a Jill-centric episode, which I think that you had also said which was a very safe prediction. Just joking.
Man.
But I actually I would love a Jill-centric episode. It's about her. It's her time to get her own episode. She's the one person that hasn't been completely fleshed out. So I would love to get a deep dive into her psyche, and I think that she's maturing as an actress. She just got what? She just got a role on a movie, a big movie that's coming out now. It's escaping me. If anybody remembers. Oh,
it's the one with the guy who directed Iron Man 3. What the hell's the name of that movie? I forget now.
This is where you edit and you say movie title here.
I'm typing it up as we look along.
No, I'm going to keep it in at how awkward I am.
But anyway, thank you for that email, Lisa, and I'm with those predictions.
So I will go against the safe bet here, and I say they're not going to Australia. Mm-hmm.
That's a safe prediction.
I don't think they're going to go to Australia. Just to clarify
really
my answer,
explore it more. I think it's good in where it exists, and it's a great Lindelism, because he loves using Australia as like this magical place where something can happen, so I don't think it's necessary, and I think. But again, it could be. I could be wrong. That's my thought. And then in terms of like where Meg has been set up as this great villain, and I would love to explore where that's going. And then again, I think resolving a lot of the rest of the hashtag Team Garvey's issues and storylines.
Jack,
but is Meg really a villain?
Like all the best villains, there's shades of good and bad.
She did bring the family back.
But again,
together.
it's like the best villains are not just fully super duper bad guys, right? There's always this, especially Lindelof. There's sides of good and bad.
She didn't stone the guy. They could have said no.
Hey, listen, man, it's up to your interpretation, man. It's there. It's how you want to see it, dude.
Well, I had a theory. I thought the bomb did go off and that they were all dead the whole time, and not the whole time, but dead, and that's where Kevin, he was actually dead in the whole thing. But I had a theory. I came up with a crazy one that maybe next season will be that there wasn't 2% that departed, it was 98% that departed, that they actually departed, and the 2% are back where they are, and they're going to spend the time realizing that they actually departed or something like that. Because I can't figure out how season 3 is. I couldn't have guessed on season 2, and I have really not a guess for season 3 how it's going to go.
Yep.
Just surprise me.
I feel like, Lindelof, he's talked about this. He wants to subvert, and he wants to subvert everybody's expectations, and he did it very well in this season. And it makes me think that he's going to stay in Jarden. He's going to stay there because everybody expects it to go to Australia, or everybody expects it to move again because he moved the story from Mapleton to Jarden and from season 1 to season 2. So if I'm going to go along that lines, it's going to stay in Jarden, and I'm also going to go along the lines of what one of the listeners said, which is there's going to be a time jump, because I don't see him taking up the story right afterwards. There has to be some kind of dramatic pull. There has to be some kind of motioning event that pushes season 3 into existence, and I don't see that happening right away. Perhaps maybe the baby is born from between Matt and Mary, or Lily gets a little bit older. I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do, but I think there's going to be a time jump. My darling, do you have an expectation or a theory for season 3?
Yeah, another kick-ass soundtrack. That was awesome.
Oh,
was that Liza Richardson who did that? Is that her name? The music.
Liza, or is it Lisa?
I think it's Liza.
Okay.
I don't know. Liza or Lisa Richardson, whoever is picking out the music. I'm saying this because I think everything that you guys are saying is brilliant and fantastic, and I have no idea where it's going to go. I would like to go to Australia personally. That would be a wonderful trip.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, Blake. There's just so much that we've covered that it was a great series. I trust the writers wholeheartedly. I just wanted to note that I also really loved all of the music this season, because I think that they were really, really smart with their music choices. So Lisa or Liza, whoever you are, I hope you stay on board for season 3, because you did a very, very good job.
The movie I was thinking of with Margaret Qualley in it is, I think it was The Nice Guys. That's what you were thinking of, Blake?
Yes.
With Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe. She actually has the 4th billing on it, right behind Kim Basinger. So she's a big movie. And then the one I was thinking of is a horror movie that she's the lead on. Same director as VHS. So that's what I was thinking of.
Shane Black. That's the guy who directed the movie. Shane Black. I was just
Correct.
thinking about that.
So Dylan and Tiffany, where can listeners find you, and what other projects do you have coming up?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Tiffany Tomaszewski. That's TiffanyTomazew. And then I also write for a publication in Los Angeles that's Press Pass LA. So you can find some of my work there.
Yeah, if you want to follow Tiffany's and I podcast on this, it's the worst of the 3 podcasters that are on here. But that's at guiltyremnantpodcast.com. You can find all of my podcasts. I do one on The Walking Dead, and one on Ash vs. Evil Dead, and one on Better Call Saul. And you can find all of those at my website, which is schuckster.com. That's SCHUCKSTER. And that is my Twitter handle also at Schuckster, SCHUCKSTER. And I haven't told any of you guys this yet, but it's still early on, but I just was hired to write for a news publication, online magazine. So I'll have that information coming out soon, but I figured I'd say it because my last time I talked to
congrats.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you guys. So that information will be coming in the week or two. Just follow my Twitter and I'll be dropping the information.
Jay and Jack, how about you? Where can listeners find you, and what do you have going on?
So let's jayandjack.com has all of our different shows. We podcast about a lot of things.
It's like Survivor, right?
Yeah, we have a Survivor podcast, a Leftovers podcast. You might have heard it. We also do a Lost podcast. We are going to be doing a Game of Thrones podcast for the new Game of Thrones season, which we're very excited about. We do Amazing Race, Walking Dead, sports talk stuff. But yeah, just a lot of different stuff that you check it all out on jayandjack.com. You follow us on Twitter at jayandjack, myself at Luke Vank, and then the wonderful Crackpot Jack at Crackpot Jack on the tweeters. But yeah.
Well, that about closes it up for all of us. Blake, let's close out the show.
All right, let's do it.
Well, you've heard we're Jay and Jack. You can reach them as well as the Guilty Remnant, but you can reach us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and every other social media. Not really every other one, but those ones at least, by the handle Living
What's
Reminders.
your Snapchat? That's what I want to know.
I'm not on Snapchat yet. I need to get up on it.
I'm not a 13-year-old girl. So.
It's the new hip thing with people our age, I swear.
I looked you guys up on Grindr and I couldn't find you guys, unfortunately.
Oh, I'm going to let you sit with that one too, bro. You can check out all of our episodes and interviews, everything that we do at thelivingreminders.com. And be sure to stay in touch with all of us, the Living Reminders, Jay and Jack, Guilty Rev, everybody, as I'm sure we'll all have some more to talk about as we come closer to the ever-important third and final season of The Leftovers.
Yay! Well, that is about it, ladies and gents, for Jay and Jack and the Guilty Remnant podcast. And Blake and myself, we are the Living Reminders, and all of us, we're still here.